I brought the silver dragon queen from her room to the cherry blossom tree in the back mountain. The silver dragon queen knows that my purpose is to seek revenge for what she did to me before. I activated the dragon mark with a strong sense of revenge. The silver dragon queen not only did not resist, but also tacitly approved of my revenge behavior. After a night of hard work, I finally completed my revenge. However, at that moment, she, who was already asleep, grabbed my clothes. Leon bent down and slowly approached Roswitha. Due to just waking up and not having fully recovered, Roswitha cannot immediately sit up and resist him. She stared closely at Leon and pulled the quilt tightly with both hands. Leon, don't think you can attack me just because I'm weak. I advise you not to act recklessly. Upon hearing these words, Leon silently lowered his head. Roswitha couldn't see his expression clearly. Leon thought that Roswitha's words seemed like she had forgotten how she had treated him at the time. He has not forgotten the revenge that Roswitha took against him at that time. He said with a slightly aggrieved tone, "Weakness?" At that time, he had only just woken up, when he was fiercely bullied by Roswitha. Now she is also very weak, but she has said such things. He felt very angry. He lifted his head and looked at Roswitha with angry eyes. Was I not weak back then? When I first woke up, I didn't even drink a sip of water before you carved a dragon mark and pushed me down. Did you give me a chance to refuse? Roswitha was not influenced by Leon's words. As long as her body returns to its normal level, she can easily bully him and retaliate. She looked at him with angry eyes and threatened fiercely. Do you know what will happen to you when I recover? So, don't do anything that you will regret. Leon had already grabbed her quilt with his hand, as if he was going to do something to her next. He was not intimidated by the threat of Roswitha. He had already made sufficient preparations. He approached her face, looked at her with a victorious expression, and said to her in a relaxed tone, "Regret? No, no, my dear wife." Roswitha suddenly felt her body leave her bed. She didn't know what Leon was going to do next. This is the most correct decision I have ever made in my life. Then, Leon pulled the quilt over Roswitha, picked her up, and walked towards the door. Roswitha wrapped herself in a quilt and looked at him with surprise, almost falling off him. She instinctively tightened her quilt. Leon turned his head to look at her, with a mischievous smile on his face. He knew that she was still weak and unable to resist him, so he took her out in this position. He spoke confidently to her. This time, it's your turn to be a prisoner of war. So, Leon began his revenge plan. The time has swiftly turned to evening. The sky was orange-red just now, but now it has turned into a starry night sky. The moonlight illuminated the somewhat dim cherry blossom forest. Leon followed the route on the map and carried Roswitha to the cherry blossom forest in the back mountain. He walked on the road covered with cherry blossoms, and occasionally cherry blossoms blown down by the wind floated onto him. However, Roswitha was still struggling hard in his arms. She didn't expect Leon to bring her out directly. She struggled while trying to push him away with her hands. However, due to insufficient strength, she couldn't immediately push him away. She angrily said to him, "Let go of me." Leon casually let her push his head. When he saw her struggling so hard, not only did he not put her down, but he held her tighter. He tightened his hands slightly. "Don't move, otherwise you might fall." Roswitha knew that in her current physical condition, she wouldn't be able to break free from Leon's embrace no matter what. Although she was very unwilling, she had to give up temporarily. She frowned and complained silently in her mind. "If it weren't for my lack of strength, I would have beaten this guy up long ago." After walking for a while, Leon carried her to the huge cherry blossom tree that he had come to before. Since this cherry blossom tree was very large, whenever the wind blew, it would have a lot of petals floating down to the ground. Some time ago, when he came here to investigate, he had collected a lot of petals and spread them on the ground. He patted the quilt on the petals and put down Roswitha. Roswitha knelt on the ground and looked around, realizing that this was the place she liked to go for walks on a regular basis. However, she wasn't sure what Leon was bringing her here for. She looked at him angrily and said, "What are you bringing me here for?" Leon thought to himself that Roswitha had absolutely no idea what he had done during her coma. Leon stood in front of her, straightened up, and raised a finger to shake, smiling and explaining to her. "During your coma, I thoroughly investigated your favorite places to go, and this is the first stop tonight." At this moment, Roswitha had no mood to admire cherry blossoms. She felt uneasy as she listened to what he was saying. She frowned and expressed her speculation. "The first stop? So you still need to take me to other places?" Leon did not directly answer Roswitha's question. Leon turned around and held out his hand in the distance, gesturing for Roswitha to look his way. Standing at this angle, they could clearly see the silver dragon castle shrouded in night. He said to Roswitha, "Do you see it? That's your castle. Here, you can have a panoramic view of it all." Through Leon's prompting, Roswitha recalled the time long ago when she had taken him to the borders of the human territories and bullied him severely in front of his homeland. She crossed her arms over her chest and spoke her own conclusion. "Are you trying to avenge the incident in your hometown?" Leon still vividly remembers that experience to this day. He couldn't forget the humiliation and bullying that Roswitha had inflicted on him at that time. Leon slowly unbuttoned his shirt. The dragon mark on his chest emitted a dazzling purple light. That's right. Give someone a taste of his own medicine is not exclusive to your dragon clan. Roswitha cautiously lowered her head and looked at her chest. Sure enough, her dragon mark also appeared. Then, she felt an abnormality in her body. She slumped down on the quilt, one hand covering her uncomfortable chest, and her face instantly flushed. A faint whimper escaped her lips. "Huh." Leon stood next to her in a pleasant mood as he watched her struggle to tolerate the dragon mark. He said to her, "Although I am human, I also have a strong sense of revenge and ceremony."
Hey, have you heard about it? SF Light Novel is going to share a new comic. I have already shared a new comic. The name of this comic is The Blonde-Haired Villain. In Girl Overlord novel, also longs for happiness. I have already shared the relevant content of this comic in this video. You can click on this video to learn about the comic story and character information. If you are interested, you can subscribe to my channel and wait for the sharing of new comic.